Hey there, how are you doing?
Hi, Becca. I'm doing well.
Oh, it's so good to see you. Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you today.
I'm good. Good to see you as well. And I'm very excited. I'm very happy to be doing this for you.
Oh, thank you. So, if you could just tell me and tell the viewers, people that will be watching this, a little bit about, you and just what brought you to, deciding to work with me, that would be awesome.
Sure. So right now I'm living in the Northern Virginia area. I grew up in Central Virginia, and I can say, just thinking back on my life, I started to have my first bouts with anxiety and depression probably around the age of 6. I experienced something very traumatic in my life, and I didn't have anybody that I could trust enough to talk to or to tell them what had happened to me. So I just dealt with it internally the best I can. And mostly that was trying to suppress it and forget about it. So from the age of 6 until now, I've had it's come in ebbs and flows, to the point where sometimes it'll just be a little, sadness over a period of time. But there certainly have been times where I've wanted to harm myself because I couldn't take the pain of just existing in this world anymore, or just, the times when I didn't want to harm myself, just didn't want to live. And that's how I was relatively feeling at the time that I found your site on Facebook.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so, was it, did you do some searches online or how did you end up finding me and my program?
I was just scrolling through Facebook one day, and I believe somebody reposted a post that you had made with feedback from a client. And I just read into it, and I delved a little deeper, went to your page, and was reading some of your posts and some of the other testimonies. And at the time, I mean, I was just really in a bad place. Like I said, the pandemic had really taken a toll on me at that time. I was living alone at the time, didn't have anyone really close to me, or the people that are in my close circle. Everyone was being isolated, and I had no one. It was just me in the house by myself, or I would make contact with friends via Zoom calls or phone calls. But that I just having that didn't realize how necessary it was to have that personal and human touch in my life. So I felt like I was at a point of despair. I started to just have this downward spiral and thinking, feeling sorry for myself, thinking like, oh, this is going to be how it's going to be for me for the rest of my life. I'm never going to have the family that I always wanted when I was growing up, or just somebody to share my life with. I'm just going to be alone in this house for the rest of my life. And it just took a real downward spiral. And it was to the point where, I would just have a lot of self talk to try to cheer myself up, or to try thinking I could pull myself out of the depression. That just was not working. And I was to the point where if I don't do something, whether it was to go to therapy, and get on medication. And I was just adamant about not wanting to get on medication. So it was just a blessing that I found that post from you at that time. And I figured, I've gone through therapy. I think the first time I attended therapy, I maybe was 27. So I've had therapy throughout my, 20s and most of my 30s, and, here and there. I've been on medication to deal with my anxiety and depression. I didn't really like the effects of that, the physical and the mental side effects of it, and emotional. And I didn't. I was just really adamant about not wanting to get on medication. I felt like, I've tried these other things. If I'm having to go back to therapy all the time and going to have to be on drugs to treat my depression periodically, this thing that sounds, really out of the box. I figured I tried everything else, so why not give this a try too?
Hmm.
And I was willing to give it a try, and it just sounded so unconventional. But the testimonies that you posted just really resonated with me, and it made me hopeful that this this type of treatment would work for me. So that's why I was willing to give it a try.
Awesome. And so how long has it been now since your program ended?
Oh my gosh. When did we end? Over the summer?
I think
I believe it's
so.
over the summer.
So it's been several months that,
Hmm.
you've been able to see the continued, changes happening, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just been all positive. And just, the way I just saw a lot of changes in my life, just not even after the program, but during the course of the program, because I think my mindset changed so much that my personality changed a little bit. So I was attracting certain types of people that I never had before, and just willing to push myself a little more in life. I'm just like, um, it doesn't appear this way to people that know me, but I am an extreme introvert. Um, and I just knew, like, if I wanted to not be alone for the rest of my life, or
Mhm.
just live life in general, then I was going to have to get out of this house a little bit, within reason, still realizing that this is a pandemic, and put myself out there a little bit. Before I started to engage with you, I was turning down invitations from my friends, even during the pandemic, my friends who wanted to have Zoom calls. Like, I was so over that by May of 2020 that I even stopped doing that.
Yeah.
So I've lost touch with some of those friends who were trying to host those things, because I think they didn't take it well when I just stopped attending and wasn't responding to them.
Mhm.
So I'm just more present in life
Yeah.
as a result of our engagement.
Mm. And how did you find that it worked for you since, because of the pandemic, we worked only on Zoom, so we never even met
Right,
in person. Um,
right.
yeah, so how would you describe that to other people and, your experience with it?
Well, when we first started, I really didn't know what to expect. I read the description, I read all the documentation that you sent me when I signed up,
Mhm.
but I was like, how is this going to go? How is it going to work on Zoom? So I'll be honest, I was extremely skeptical. But like I mentioned, I was just really at a point I felt like I tried everything else. Like, I'm just going to try this and see what happens. So, just kind of being put under hypnosis, I think most people have the perception like you're not really aware of what's going on. And I'm thinking, like, I hope this lady doesn't have me barking like a dog or clucking like a chicken or something like that. None of that happened. I was fully aware of everything that you were saying. um, I was just The thing that shocked me the most is that the conversations and our discussions just led me to dig really deep into some things that I had not thought about in decades. Things that I have forgotten happened to me, or certain experiences that I had completely forgotten about. So I was surprised at how easy it was to raise those things to the surface and talk about them. And so, things began to click, like, oh my God, like, this is the source of, why I feel the way that I'm feeling, or, now, or I have in the past.
Mhm.
So that was very eye opening, and it was scary for me. But I left each session feeling just extremely satisfied, and just a huge sense of relief after every single session. The first two sessions, I was like, okay, I don't know about this, but something clicked that third session. It was just like, an up, just all the way up from that third session on.
Mhm. And do you feel like you were also seeing a change as you were listening to your recording? Like all of a sudden you would start noticing differences?
Yes, I think the recording was the key in all of this. And you stressed the importance of listening to it every night. So I actually set an alarm every night at 9 o'clock, so that I would be sure to listen to it whether I was sleepy or ready to go to bed that time or not. So I listened to it consistently for those 30 days that you had instructed me to do.
Mhm.
And I think, had it not been for that, I don't know if the program would have been effective. So one thing I do want to stress to anybody looking at this video is listen to that recording every night.
Absolutely. And you'd be surprised at how many people just forget about it. So it's
Yeah.
it's
And
really
and I'm that
important.
type of person too. I knew just because my mind is going a mile a minute a night, or I just have so many things going on. So I knew the only thing that would help me remember to do it consistently was to set that alarm.
That's a really good insight. Yeah, I'm gonna use that for myself too. That's awesome. So how do you feel like, the changes that you were seeing just going through this personally have affected you in other areas of life?
um first thing that comes to mind is just my mood and my attitude just did a complete 180. I was a lot happier. I was more engaged talking with people I know, but complete strangers too, which is something I just don't, the introvert in me just doesn't really do
Hmm.
that. Um, I think one of the things that we touched on is just the all the romantic relationship problems that I had. So right before our session started, I had met someone who was interested in me. I was mildly interested in him, because just I knew mentally, I wasn't ready to pursue anything. I knew he really liked me, and I just liked him a little bit. But it was because of my mindset. He was just a very nice man, just a personality like type of personality I was looking for in a person that I wanted to enter a romantic relationship with. But I really kept him at bay. He was just extremely patient. But during the course of our session, as my mindset changed, I changed the way I engaged with him. So when he would text or call me, sometimes I would wait like days to return his call. But then I would start answering or responding as soon as if I was available at the time. He reached out to me, and it developed into something really solid. I think really solid. We're in a relationship now, committed relationship. We're actually going to move in together in January.
Oh, wow.
I'm I'm really nervous about that, but I'm hopeful. I'm excited about it at the same time. I don't. Normally, something like that, my anxiety would kick in, and I would think about all the reasons why I shouldn't be doing this and why this isn't a good idea. I would just, talk negatively about it, like, "Oh, I don't think we've known each other that long. We shouldn't be doing this." But I don't think that way at all. And like we've even talked about marriage, so I foresee that in our future. And I never thought I wanted to get married, but this is somebody I want to marry.
Oh my gosh, I have goosebumps. I'm not even kidding. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
So,
and it all has to do because my mindset changed during this program, and just the way I operate in life in general. All of that changed. How I perform at work and engage with my teams at work. All of that changed.
wow. So you think that the depression was kind of affecting you not just personally, but even in your professional life then?
Yes, at work, with my family, with my friends, with my romantic life. Yes, pretty much every aspect of my life. The only thing I did was stay on top of my responsibilities as far as paying my bills on time.
Yeah. Oh man. Wow.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's just kind of almost every area of life then, you've seen
Yes.
changes in. Wow.
Yes, absolutely.
And so somebody that's super skeptical as far as like you can actually make these kind of huge changes in such a short amount of time, what would you say to them?
I would say I was right there with you, just reading what the program entails. I really didn't understand it. I really didn't understand how it could help me. But the key was reading everyone's testimonials. The testimonials are consistent. Everything that they say happened for me. Every experience they have, I've experienced. This program works.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and it's like I can just see the changes too. Just your energy is,
Hmm.
continuing to just it's like a shining light. I just love it. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So whenever you think about just where you were before to where you are now, is there anything that, you would tell somebody that is struggling like in that place, that feeling like they're hopeless, they don't know where else to go, whether it's this program or something else, like what would you say to that person who's feeling that way?
I would say you're not alone. Many of us have all been there. Many people are going through that right now, but just know that you're important, that people love and care about you and want to see you exist on this earth. They don't want you to leave this earth prematurely, and take care of yourself first. Once that's the first step into making a to experiencing a better life. It's not easy. It's a journey. The change doesn't happen overnight, but once you start begin to see the change, that's motivation for you to keep going.
Mhm. Absolutely. That's wonderful. And so, were there any questions that you sort of had at the beginning that, maybe you could speak to somebody now that might be looking at it and saying, well, what exactly is hypnosis, or what do you mean by energy? Some of the things that are harder to explain, just how would you describe it?
I would describe it as really just focusing on what you're saying as the facilitator of this program, really whatever comes to mind, not being afraid to speak it, whatever it is, because it's just going to lead to something deeper and a lot of clarity for you. And that's a key point for this program to help you really get to the root of some of why you're feeling the way that you are, and really helping to understand it, pinpoint what areas you need to be resolved, whether it's particular relationships you can shift your focus to, or realizing that you just have to let certain people go, even family members. Don't be afraid to cut off family members. um I think we had talked about it during one of our sessions. You keep your eyes closed almost during the entire session,
Mhm.
and I just wasn't sure what you were doing on your end. Um, but as we're talking through it, I think at one point, in some instances, like you will feel something physical come over you. You will see colors changing while your eyes are closed, and that is the energy that Becca is kind of pushing to you. And
Mhm.
it's really hard to describe you. Like once you experience it, you'll and hearing me talk about it, you'll understand.
Yeah. And whenever you were experiencing the different feelings and emotions, did you also still feel safe at the same time?
Felt 100% safe. Felt calm. It's a calming thing. Even if you're talking about something difficult, you can physically feel the tension leaving your body as you're talking about these things.
Yeah. And so my hope is really to create a safety environment, even though we're, on the computer, and just
Hmm.
help you feel supported through that. Do you feel that support throughout the all the sessions and things that we did together?
Absolutely.
I'm so glad. I think it's hard to always, understand how that can translate online, but I think it really does work for a lot of people. And in some ways, I felt like your sessions were even a little bit more powerful because you were in the safety of your own home. And
Right.
did you have a sense to that at all? If like that
I
helped?
did. I did because it was just me here. I didn't have any distractions. I was meeting with you on my laptop, so I turned my phone off during the session so as not to be interrupted, to get the full effect of the session as well.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And so, is there anything else that you would just say to someone that's kind of on the fence of, joining this program or doing some deeper work, that's going through some of the emotional struggles that you were going through?
I would say you're probably just like me. You've tried everything. Therapy is good for what it's worth. Medication, I think that just really masks the problem. And in addition to that, it can really cause some nasty physical side effects that most people don't want to deal with. And really, just I am a believer in this program. I endorse it 100%. It works. I'm a prime example of that. And I would just encourage you to give it a try.
And one last question. How would you say this is different from traditional therapy for the person that's kind of wondering that?
It's For me, therapy, and I've had different experiences with different therapists. Some were really good, some were not that great. It just didn't feel like they went, really below the surface so much, and that's what I was seeking from all my therapists. Just, why am I feeling this way? Why am I exhibiting this type of behavior in these types of scenarios? And we never got below that surface. So I just felt like it was just me kind of talking about my day to day or things that were bothering me all the time, but not really getting to the heart of the issues that I was experiencing. And your program is the complete opposite of that. I mean, I went to the bottom of the ocean with some of our conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel like you're such an inspiration to people that are, going through exactly the same thing. I've gone through it myself, and it's just such a joy to see the changes that you've created for yourself, and that you continue to create. So I'm just so excited for you, and thank you too for just spending a little bit of time and talking about it. I appreciate it.
Sh- Sure. And just one last thing that comes to mind, especially when it comes to my anxiety and how I deal with things. In the past, I've definitely been of the mindset where things could be going well and I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop, or I could have, a bad day and just let it affect my mood for the whole day or multiple days or, sometimes multiple weeks or months. And my mindset has completely changed. If I'm experiencing some challenges in my personal life or my professional life, I'm just like, okay, this is happening. I'll get through this. Tomorrow's a new day, and I'm going to start over. And I've never done that ever in my life. Never.
Wow. And it's to me it's different too whenever you have those changes that have been created versus you're trying so hard to think positively.
Right.
It's like it's two totally different things. What you're describing is like an organic change from the inside out that just like that's just how you are now, right?
Right.
Compared to like a struggle of like I gotta think positive.
Mm-hmm.
you know
Right.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, the changes
Yeah.
really, you start seeing more and more how they infiltrate into all different periods and places of your life. It's just unbelievable, the way that we can see changes happen and like instantly, some of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff happens instantly in the program and then you'll see it sort of collectively throughout and then looking back at it, you can, sort of see key areas that you've also created some really powerful changes in. So it's so exciting to see.
Absolutely.
I love
It
that.
is. Yeah, and I'm just the happiest I've been in years. So and I absolutely attribute that to your program.
Oh, I'm so grateful. I'm just so glad to have been part of that, part of your happiness and seeing where you're going now. And oh, that's
Yeah.
just awesome. Well, thank
Yeah.
you for spending a little bit of time with me today and just helping other people to find some hope too. And I was just sharing your story. It's such a beautiful story of inspiration.
Thank you. I hope I can help, even if it's just one person. That's a lot because this isn't, it's not something to take lightly. But your livelihood is everything, and people love you and want to see you here and thrive.
Absolutely, they do. All right. Well, I so enjoyed our talk today, and I look forward to talking again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for reaching out.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.